I want Szechuan sauce. Where's my Szechuan sauce? I'm Kendall Rick! My beloved Dum Dum! I'm Kendall Rick! 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 I'm Kendall Rick! Rick! Rick!
What the heck? What?
Rick and Morty, created by Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon, is a show about a young boy and his nearly close to Alzheimer's grandpa as they go on to adventures into the unknown. Us Rick and Morty fans are very, very intelligent, very understanding, very high IQ individuals.
I turned myself into a pickle! I'm Pickle Rick!
People who must not ingest the Szechuan sauce, they are not true intellectuals like us. People like Elon Musk has watched Rick and Morty. Albert Einstein has watched Rick and Morty because they're aware of the intelligence and the humor of just how highbrow it is. I mean, after all, just look at this.
I admire you, Rick. Rick, here's...
Also, take a look at this exquisite humor.
Oh, God.
Good morning. Looks like your grandpa had a long night.
And, lest we forget this.
I turned myself into a nigger, Morty!
Truly art in a godly form. You would have to be nearly intelligent to a rocket scientist to understand the basic funny sayings in Rick and Morty, such as how Summer is always on her phone, which signifies the failing youth and how we all need to come together as a team in order to change the world. Or such as retard Rick is actually the smartest human being on the show. Of course, if you weren't a true Rick and Morty fan, you would know nothing of that. You wouldn't even realize that there's a significant reason as to why Rick turned himself into a pickle, besides the fact that he clearly stated that he wanted to. That's only there for the face value fans, or for the normies. But people like us who are on Tumblr for 24/7 and do nothing but rant and bitch about everything, we know everything and we understand why. We know why. We know Rick's feelings because we are the true Ricks. We are everything that Rick wants and we are everything that Rick needs. We are the true fans. We are everything. We are intellectuals. And we'll stay intellectuals. Alright, now that I got that meme out of the way, let me actually talk about the show. Rick and Morty is an honest-to-God great show. There are plenty of amazing visuals, and the colors are pretty vibrant, at least to me. A show like Rick and Morty thrives on world building, and we use Morty to see everything that we need to know. We essentially look at the things through his eyes because he's as unknowing as we are, while Rick guides Morty and the audience to see what's ever in this episode. Morty's your typical run-of-the-mill, average, awkward teenage boy. He goes to high school and he wants to get the girl, and then he gets the girl, and then he doesn't get the girl, all that kind of add melodramatic drama. Except in Rick and Morty, it's played off as like self-aware, and it's actually funny seeing him go through these high school interactions, and especially when Rick just busts in some episodes and it's just like, hey, your high school life, I don't care about that, let's go on an adventure. Because I'm pretty sure as much as Morty seems to hate it sometimes, the deviation from the normal average boring high school life is probably pretty fun for him, although you can't overwork him like in that one episode. There's clearly a lot of effort gone into Rick and Morty. Obviously there's the usual animation process of storyboarding, blah 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 blah, all of that good stuff, but it's clearly also a passion project. Like I said earlier, it comes from the creative minds of Justin Roiland and Dan Harmon, who both have contributed plenty to the entertainment industry. There's an old 2013 Justin Roiland Comic-Con review where they interview him as being the voice of Oscar in Fishhooks, and it's so weird seeing that was his, at one point, hugest claim to fame, and it not being Rick and Morty. Like, it's almost surreal to just see that and thinking, in a year or two, you're gonna be more famous than that, buddy. I don't know, just a weird thing to think about. But I love the subplot stuff with Jerry and going through his divorce and all of that stuff. I didn't really like how he just got back together with her, and they basically just established the season 1 status quo, like they even said it. I mean, it's probably for a reason though, but I kind of felt that Jerry was better off without Beth and all of her problems and stuff. And I could go into detail about all of that, but you'd have to be an intellectual to understand. See, if you're an average guy like me who just enjoys watching episodic things, you'll probably love Rick and Morty, because while there is an overarching story, that doesn't distract from the episode by episode basis that you can work off of when watching any episode that you want to watch. Sure, it is somewhat story driven, but you can just pick up whenever you want. I'd probably have to say that my favorite character is is either Morty or Jerry Smith. I can go the usual, oh man, I'm like Rick, so Rick is my favorite character. I'm all dark and brooding and smart, no one understands me. You know, all of that Tumblr junk. But in actuality, I am as complex as a boiled toaster. I have little to no substance in my life, and it has no deeper meaning. I honestly feel like a mixture between Jerry and Morty because I suffer from anxiety and I have loads of insecurities, as every teenage boy and gal does have. As I mentioned in the Sanjay and Craig review, it's good to watch a show when you're the same age as the protagonist because you can understand the things that they're going through, and even after, when you've long aged past them, you can understand the things that you've been through at that point. It just makes you feel like you're not alone and you're going through life with somebody else dealing with the same problems that you're dealing with, or at least near the same problems. Sure, life sucks, but when you can escape into a fictional realm with portal guns and interdimensional cable, it's not as bad. Speaking of interdimensional cable, I really do love the improv scenes in Rick and Morty. It's funny when they're near breaking character and you can basically tell. Like the Gazorpazor field bit was hilarious because at the end you can hear the guy just laughing.
Fucking field, bitch. Now give me my fucking enchilada.
I mean, for interdimensional cable, the setup is pretty simple. Rick makes a cable box when he can get channels from every dimension. And that's the setup. That's pretty much it. And from then, improvisation happens. The guys and gals at the Rick and Morty team are very creative because even excluding interdimensional cable, they have done tons of pretty amazing episodes. I like season 1's kinda Christmas special, 3rd episode, Anatomy Part. That was a pretty funny, enjoyable episode. I obviously love the Rick Lantis mix-up thing. That's like, that's a given. I just still do find it weird that they chose like a whole season to continue the plot, because where it started, Close Encounters of Rick Kind was a season 1 episode 10 thing, and Rick Landis mix-up was way in season 3. I mean, at this point, Rick and Morty has the notoriety to keep the story and the trend going and to keep the people interested, but it just seems really weird of how they're taking this long overarching plot and stretching it like past seasons. But who cares about that when you have Jessica? Oh, Jessica. Whoever says that they watch Rick and Morty for the plot, they be lying. Oh, Jessica. She was in thickness with Rhaenyra. Just look at that face, that body, that unlegalized goodness. All jokes aside, I really enjoyed the episode where Rick and Morty needed a vacation and all of the toxicity, if that's even a word, was excreted from the both of them. Because after all of Morty's insecurities left, he had asked Jessica out and then she said yeah, and she couldn't handle non-insecure Morty, and then he left her because he was like, whatever, not dealing with it. So she called him wanting him back after he was with this like woman who clearly knew he was 14, but not really the relevance here. Anyways, while he was with this woman in his mansion, she calls him and asks for him to take her back, and he says probably the most relatable thing I've ever heard.
Go for Morty.
Hi, Morty. It's Jessica. Look, can we just talk for a minute?
Is that how long it takes for Rick to trace my location?
Come back, Morty. I miss you.
You miss the old me. You miss someone that loved you so much you never had to love him back.
How do you know I don't want to love you?
Because I'm not sick.
I don't know why that sunk with me, but it just honestly did. Just seemed kind of weird, you know? And there are moments like this spliced in Rick and Morty. It can go from an extremely funny comedy to a lighthearted family sitcom to a very hateful and self-aware cartoon. The tone shifts from episode to episode, and quite frankly, that's what I like about it. The loud minority of the fandom may not be the best, but I am proud to own a Rick and Morty t-shirt. I may not be a true intellectual, but I am a fan. A proud fan. I enjoy the show for what it's worth and what it has to offer. And honestly, it has a lot to offer. I mean, although from the things that I've said, you can conclude that I like the show, but it's up to you to find out if you like it or not. You can be a quote-unquote intellectual if you please and watch the show. In conclusion, I hope that we all can enjoy this oh so complex humor and intellectual manner of Rick and Morty. As always, I'm Veridis Joe, and I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a pretty light one, but that's because I got some good stuff coming up. Don't worry, I'm not dead. At least not yet. We're basically halfway to 900 subs, which is 100 away from 1,000, so we're almost there. We'll get there hopefully by the end of the year. That's at least my goal. If you ever do fan art, send fan art to my Twitter right here. It's also in the outro. What was that? And if you ever want to talk to me. I'm Veridis Joe, and...
Turn myself into a pickle, Morty! Boom! Big reveal. I'm a pickle. What do you think about that? I turned myself into a pickle!
A pickle whack! Well, time to get a new mic.